Hello, everyone. Daniel here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be talking about a book called The Variants, a Jessica Jones Mystery by Gail Simone and Phil Noto. We also have letters by Corey Petit. This trade paperback that you can already get collects the single issues of The Variants 1 through 5. So it's only 5 issues. It's a real quick read. It's really fun. Let me give you a quick synopsis and then we'll talk about the event as a whole. What would it be like to meet an alternate version of yourself? Another you who had made different choices and lived a completely different life as a result? That's the question facing Jessica Jones, as what seemed like a routine investigation instead has her encountering other incarnations of herself across the multiverse. Can Jessica Jones get along with herself? Will she want to kill her other selves? And will seeing the road she could have traveled drive her into a self-destructive spiral? This is what happens when you meet the variants. Jessica might just be losing her mind, and worse still is she's backed into an impossible corner. She's forced to make a sacrifice play that could cost her a member of her own family. So we did a review for this series when it originally came out, and I just hadn't gotten around to finishing the series. And luckily, a few days ago, I had some free time, and I enjoyed it so much that I wanted to make a video because I want more people to read this book. So for the most part, I'll be non-spoilery about it. I'll give you some details and stuff like that. Some of the things that I enjoyed. Um, One of them being that as I was reading this, I tweeted out to Gail and Phil that I was reading the book, and Gail mentioned on social media that this was one of two stories that came to her in a dream, which seems insane, right? The other was an Iron Man story that I haven't tracked down yet, so I'll definitely be able to read. I'll be looking forward to reading that as well. But man, that is crazy. It's such a fun premise. First of all, Jessica Jones is a fantastic character, and I think the way that Gail Simone writes her here is just incredible. Not only that, she's writing multiple different versions of Jessica Jones, but at the heart of it really is two things. We have this mystery, first of all. What's going on? Who are these variants? Why is this happening? And then also we have the theme of Jessica still dealing with a lot of her trauma and trying to get past it. And I think trying to close that loop of everything that she's gone through in the past, in the past with the Purple Man and all the stuff, especially now that she's in a much better place now with Luke and their daughter Danny, and she has a family and a job and like just she can move forward from all this stuff. But unfortunately, as she finds out in the back of her head, it's always kind of like there's always something coming, right? So that's what makes this very interesting. And then as these variants start showing up, what does that mean? Why do they come into her life? Are they a threat? Those are the things that this book explores, and it does so very well. Now, I've talked about in the podcast and in our videos before that Phil Noto is one of my favorite artists. Usually, like I haven't read much of his sequential work outside of Star Wars recently, so it was really great to see him back on like a more of a superhero book. He's a very prolific artist, especially when it comes to covers. But so it was really great to see him back doing sequential work. Not only that, he gets to redesign so many different versions of Jessica Jones. Um, I won't go too much into detail as to all the versions that we see, but there is a really cool shot of some of these variants. Like we have a version of Jessica Jones that became Captain America. We have a version of Jessica Jones that is very similar, but she ended up marrying Daredevil instead of Luke Cage. We have a version of Jessica Jones that stayed as Jewel and never met the Purple Man and never then became Jessica Jones again. She was always just Jewel. And so many other variants like that. It is really fun. Um, the other thing that I really enjoyed about this book was that we get to explore Jessica Jones's relationships with other people in the Marvel universe, right? We see how she acts with Luke and their daughter, and how that relationship works, and how much trust there is between them. Because when Jessica asked for something to be done, Luke immediately does it without really hesitating. They have a really great support system. She knows she's able to call Danny. She has a also she's working with Daredevil, more specifically Matt Murdock in this instance, in some kind of case that they're working on. And those are some of the things that kind of get the ball rolling as well with this mystery. And also, just like whenever she knows she will need somebody to be there in case she gets out of hand, being able to call on She-Hulk, like just all those little details, all those little personal relationships, I think is what makes a story like this a lot of fun, right? I love a good old like brawl out, smash 'em, beat 'em up type of story. But when you weave in stuff like this, like the interpersonal relationships, you have this beautiful art. You have these amazing characters that are being brought to life, which are like, what if Jessica Jones went like in so many different directions? And there's so many to see, like so many to see here. That I like I said, I don't really want to go too deep into it because I feel like you really want to explore what how flexible a character like Jessica Jones can be, which is something you wouldn't really think about. But now that we are deep into the multiverse of everything, I think it's always fun to explore alternate versions of these characters and how they can be utilized, how they can be different from their main 616 version, and yet still be interesting and successful. I think one of my favorites was definitely the version of Jessica Jones that was a super soldier and was very similar in attitude to Steve Rogers, but still very different because it was Jessica Jones. Um, or also seeing a version of Jessica Jones that never met the Purple Man and became just stayed as Jewel. Like, what does that mean? How does Jessica deal with meeting someone like that who hasn't been through everything she's been through, or how is it meeting some other versions of herself that have experienced a different kind of loss and a different kind of grief? So yeah, it is just such an interesting read. It is, like I said, it's very quick. It's a really fun mystery that once you get into it, like you don't want to stop. It has some really relatable stuff too, like Jessica Jones is trying to quit drinking coffee. She also has migraines that are also explored in like why she's getting those migraines, and they're part of the mystery. And yeah, overall, like I really had a great time reading this. And not only that, I hope that in the future maybe we get all these multiversal Jessica Jones to kind of come back and do something else. I think that'd be really fun, especially if we can get Gail and Phil back together as a team. I think it just it just worked out so well. There are, of course, action sequences that I think Phil Noto knows how to handle very well. His art, although it looks very static and stoic in a lot of the covers, once you get into it, like because of his stylized approach to a lot of these things, it looks very cool once it's on the page. Like especially like some action sequences, or the way he uses the vibrations or the sound effects and things like that. So yeah, very much enjoy this story. Highly recommend if you need a Jessica Jones fix. We haven't seen her in a while in some of the live action stuff. I think this is a great book. She hasn't shown up in a lot of stuff ever since I think Devil's Reign was the last thing I really saw her in. So I'm always kind of looking to get a little bit more because she's just such a fun character to explore. So yeah, highly recommend you check this out. You can read this on their Marvel Unlimited app. You can pick up the trade. You can go to your comic shop and look for the single issues. For those of you that are collectors, like this book has a lot of first appearances because we're introducing new versions of Jessica Jones. So if that's your thing, if that's one of the reasons you collect comics, then yeah, go for it. Like you want some of these books. Also, some beautiful covers that you'll probably be seeing throughout the video, and I will have put some examples of the art as well throughout the video. So once again, highly recommend this. Make sure to check it out. If you have read it, let me know what you thought about it down in the comments. Let us know if there's any other miniseries or collections like this that you'd want us to check out and maybe do a video about. We recently did a whole thing about the Carnage Reigns event. You can find that on the channel. So yeah, if we don't do a review for every issue of something, sometimes it's because we are waiting to do just a longer video on like the complete event or the complete series when it's done. We also just did a one for the latest Secret Invasions event. So really fun stuff. Stay tuned in the channel. We have a lot of stuff upcoming, including movie reviews, more comic reviews, TV shows. We talk about that all the time. Some of our lives that happen usually Saturday mornings, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. So please make sure to like, share, subscribe, leave us a comment, all that fun stuff here. And as always, thanks for watching, everyone.